Hi, Professor. My name is Karen Carino, and today I will be talking about the Brunello Cucinelli case. So, throughout my presentation, I will be highlighting the following points. So, first, I will talk about how emotional intelligence affects Brunello Cucinelli in his business aspect, or whether it does not. I will be also talking about how he avoids the misuse of emotional intelligence. Second, I will be talking about how, if whether he is a servant leader or not. And third, I will be talking about how his philosophy kind of aligns with his business. So before I dive into the presentation, I'm just going to give a quick background on who he is. So Brunello Cucinelli was born into a peasant family in Castle Ragon in 1953. So given that he was born into a peasant family, he observed that his father would struggle in an unwelcoming work environment. And so that's why he desired to promote the concept of ensuring being moral and economic dignity. So, besides that, he obtained a diploma of a building surveyor, and then he enrolled in engineering school, but he later went to drop out because he realized that it wasn't his passion. So, that being said, in 1978, he set up a small company that captivated the market with his idea of dyeing cashmere. So in 1982, he then went to marry his current wife, Frederica Benda, and has two daughters, Camila and Carolina. So, alongside his wife, he established the Brunello Cucinelli Foundation, and his foundation has the purpose of promoting a variety of different projects wishing to contribute to happiness and improvement of the human spirit, also through actions designed to restore the beauty of places. So, just one quick thing before I move on to the first question. I just want to leave you off, Professor, with one of his memorable quotes. So he says, I would not like to live in a world where everything boils down to profit. Money is valuable only when it is spent to improve man's life and growth. And this is the end I struggle to achieve. So the first question is discuss Cucinelli's emotional intelligence using concepts from the article on what makes a leader and examine whether it plays an important role in his success as a businessman. What are your views on whether emotional intelligence can be learned? Do you agree with the views expressed by Adam Grant in the article about the dark side of EI? And how does Cucinelli avoid the misuse of EI? It is fine to critique Cucinelli here, but discuss why. So, emotional intelligence is definitely a key component of Cucinelli's success as a businessman. So, one of the components of EI that we can see in Cucinelli is that of empathy. So, as mentioned previously, when he was a little boy, he saw that his father was working in an unwelcoming environment, and so he held that very close to his heart, and he became a close observer of the world. So he then realized what he wanted to do later on when he grew up in life. Second of all, he also portrays motivation. So he currently lives at a hilltop village called Solomeo, which is very near Perugia, which is the town in which he grew up. So now that his company is very profitable, he has been renovating Solomeo, yet at the same time keeping the same essence that Salomeo has. So I can imagine that this is kind of led by intrinsic factors, yeah, at the same time extrinsic factors, because I can imagine that the satisfaction that he gets of like just giving back to his community is priceless, just as much as the smiles that he is able to give to those people, and give back to his community is insane. Also, last but not least, he definitely has high social skills because I feel like sometimes we associate social skills with just how well you are able to get along with people. But the truth is, like, it can also help you lead change. So Cucinelli actually, like I mentioned before, has the Brunello and Federica Cucinelli Foundation, in which he gives 20% of his annual profits from his business which is just Brunello Cucinelli, to his foundation. So his foundation is able to do all of these great projects. And for example, he underwrote the construction of a hospital in Malawi, which is a small country in East Africa. And he also built a soccer stadium in Castle Ragone, which was where he grew up, which is pretty cool, honestly. So I think that there are certain components of emotional intelligence that can definitely be learned, like for example, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and social skills, that you kind of develop those throughout your lifespan and your life experiences. But I feel like empathy is a little bit tricky because that is definitely through genetics, as stated in the article, or you can also develop that through your experiences in life, whether they be as a child or like in your early adulthood. And I agree with Adam Grant's view of how emotional intelligence can be misused, because it was interesting to me in the article how, for example, people who have jobs that are very emotional demanding, like for example, if you're a reporter, you're going to excel well if you have a high emotional intelligence, because you are able to express your emotions and you're able to kind of see what other people are feeling. However, if you hold a job that's not very emotional demanding, like for example, like a lawyer or an accountant, maybe not really a lawyer, but like an accountant and a scientist, like you're purely supposed to be looking at the facts, and you're not supposed to be worrying about like if somebody else is going to get in trouble or not. Like you're purely supposed to be doing your job. So therefore, like if you are very high in EI, like it's just going to decrease your job performance. And I also found it interesting how it said in the article, like when you wanted to persuade like your employees or people in general, you always try to break their heart, because if you try to break their heart, not if you try, but like if you break their heart, like they're more bound to say yes because they're going to feel bad. But I definitely think that Cuccinelli avoids the misuse of EI because of his high level in EI, but it's also because his job is very emotional demanding, and he already has solid foundations in each one of the components. So the second question was, would you consider Cuccinelli to be a servant leader? Why or why not? Discuss using specific concepts from the reading and facts from the article. Is servant leadership an effective style across all situations? When may it be most and least effective? So I would say that Cuccinelli is definitely a servant leader because he puts his followers first, he empowers them, and he helps them develop their personal capacities. So I think that a clear example of this is when Cuccinelli gathered all of his employees after the 2008 financial crisis and told them that nobody would be laid off, but instead he asked them to further expand their thinking on how they could expand the business and further make it profitable. So also, I think that he fits the characteristic of conceptualization because I feel that he already has a clear goal on where he wants to take his company. He knows that he wants to establish a humanistic enterprise, and that's where all of his goals are going to be revolved around. So I think that servant leadership is definitely not effective across the board. I feel that it can be most effective when you want to empower employees, but it's going to be least effective when the company is undergoing changes in the work culture because it will take away from the manager's power to kind of implement this. So the third and last question was, towards the end of the New Yorker article, the author notes that Cuccinelli appears to be a tad conflicted when asked whether his business of making high-end luxury products and his mission of creating a humanistic enterprise based on philosophical traditions are aligned with each other. What are your views on this issue? How important is the actual nature of business engaging whether someone is a great leader? So even though technically Cuccinelli is providing the least needy with the most unnecessary objects, I feel like it's not really that big of a deal because at the end of the day, he is still giving back to the least fortunate, and he is still helping his community and giving back to the people. And honestly, I feel like even though from a business standpoint, like generating profit and generating revenue is important, I feel like at the end of the day, there is a difference between a manager and a leader. So therefore, the business aspect is important, but the way that you treat your employees and the way that you portray yourself amongst your consumers and amongst the people in general is more important than that. So just to wrap things up really quickly, I just want to say that Brunello Cucinelli definitely has a high level of emotional intelligence, and this definitely contributes to his success as a business person, but also to his success as a philanthropist. And I want to say that his component of empathy, since the level of empathy that he carries is really high, it definitely contributes to who he is as a person today. And also, I just want to say one last thing, that I've realized that each leader that we have gone over in class has one thing in common, and that's all giving back to the community, whether it be one way or another. So I feel like this definitely is a key component in being a great leader.